Well, we are here in Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah, here with the one and only Zack from Jerry Rigs, and he's going to show us a little bit today about how he rigs wheelchairs. We're actually at his new shop, which you guys kind of broke ground here not that long ago.
Yeah, we've been setting it up for probably like 4 or 5 months, but like we're right on the cusp of being fully functional. Super excited about it.
It's a pretty big shop. I'm actually excited. I got a sneak peek through the window, and you guys have some pretty big equipment in there, so
yeah,
it's going to be pretty cool to check it out today. But that's what we're doing here today, and then we'll head over to his other shop where a lot of you participated in helping us fill the Cybertruck with books, and those books are going to Kenya, right?
Yep, we have a lot of fun projects going on.
So they built a second library in Kenya, and they got to fill it up, and you guys helped participate in that, which is pretty cool. But for right now, let's go check out how wheelchairs are made. So it is an active work zone, so we're gonna do our best to get all the audio in here. But Zach, tell us what's going on in here.
So it's definitely loud. So there's multiple different kinds of wheelchairs. There's like the kind you see at hospitals, and those ones are like someone's behind you pushing, and they cost anywhere from like $100 to $200. Then there's a second kind of wheelchair that's like a rigid manual wheelchair, where someone who's permanently in a chair pushes that around, and that can cost anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000, and that is the kind that we're building here, and we're building it for 80% cheaper than anyone else, and I'll show you the exact machines that we use. There's also like powered wheelchairs and stuff, but those are way more complex, and we'll tackle those at a later date. So we're building rigid manual wheelchairs here.
And it's important to know, as we talk about, healthcare costs in general being very expensive, but hard goods like wheelchairs, that's really important, and that's access to mobility, access to freedom, and that's kind of what you focused all your time on here at this building, right?
Yeah, so like wheelchairs are essentially someone's legs, like it's how they get around. And like here in the United States at least, insurance only covers one chair every 5 years, and if you think about how fast you wear through a pair of shoes, like wheelchairs lasting 5 years that's a stretch. And so us coming in and being able to manufacture them for much cheaper is a huge deal, and I'm super excited about it. My connection with wheelchairs is that my wife is in a wheelchair. She has been for 18 years. And I noticed very quickly how expensive the whole industry is, so we're fixing that. With the help of my subscribers and your subscribers and YouTube in general, so.
That's what's amazing about these communities in general, is when people come together for a purpose, we can really change lives, and that's what's really cool about what we're doing here. But with that, really nice introduction. Let's start taking a look around some of this cool equipment that you've got here. It is an active zone, so we'll be careful, but it is a little loud. Be aware of that, but let's take a look.
Yeah, let's start with this machine right here. So this machine is a Herber 350 LR bending machine. It's a mandrel bender. So basically we can take a 20-foot stick of aluminum and put it in this chuck right here at this end, and then this whole mechanism moves back. This can build and bend a whole wheelchair within about, I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes. Like, it's so powerful and so fast. And this machine costs about $450,000. So fairly expensive. Tanner is our lead engineer, and you can tell by the lack of hair, he's really smart. You can't grow hair and brains at the same time.
There's a correlation, huh?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
This machine is freaking phenomenal. So like, yeah, it did this. It was probably running at like 20% speed when we bent this. What are you putting it up to now?
50% speed of 50% speed. So it's like half.
So it's 25% total speed. So imagine this 4 times faster. Maybe even in editing, you can ramp it up.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Since we're just dialing in this machine and it costs $450,000, we're taking it slow to make sure we don't crash any parts or the mold. So it's called a rotary die bender. It's kind of like pulling the metal through the die to make these shapes. Because each one of these chairs has about 1,000 different variables. And so it's not a cookie cutter process for each one. No 2 chairs are the same.
When you look at this, you can see we've got, not only do we have like 4 bends in this, but if you look at the front, you'll see that these are both tapered in, right? So it's an off-axis bend is what it's doing. We're also accounting for spring back in the material, so every time we bend, so if like this is supposed to be a 90-degree bend, we're bending to something like 96 degrees to make sure we get an actual 90-degree bend. And we're within probably 0.2 degrees right now. I mean, this early on in the process, we still got some dialing in to do, but very accurate, very close.
Yeah, and it's very repeatable too. So like we can make the same part over and over and over again if we want to, or make a bunch of different custom parts. Let's go over here to the laser. So the laser is something we've been setting up just recently. It got delivered and we're about 2 weeks into training with it right now. Let's come over here behind this screen. When a class 4 laser is running, you don't want to be exposed to the laser light. It's kind of like there's radiation, just like with welding. If you look too long at the light, you'll just go blind. So we have to have a bunch of protection up in place to make sure that no one is exposed. We also have a giant air filtration exhaust system set up over here. And we are going to be cutting with this machine here in about 10 minutes as well. So we'll get some B-roll of that for you. But basically, we take a 20-foot stick of aluminum tube, like this tube we have behind us, and it will cut out at very exact dimensions, like the support rails underneath the wheelchair, and it can do it within minutes, like seconds. Lasers are so fast, and it's super cool watching it work. But basically, like if someone in the industry right now, the wheelchair industry, if someone goes to buy a wheelchair, it can take anywhere from 4 to 6 months to get it delivered. We can do it in about 4 to 6 hours, which is, again, a phenomenal improvement with what exists currently in the space. So basically this is an exhaust system, because again, if you breathe in, the laser basically vaporizes aluminum as it's cutting. And so this collects all of the vaporized aluminum so we're not breathing it in, because it's pretty nasty stuff when it gets inside of your lungs. And this is where we can load up like steel sheets and stuff. So it has multiple decks. So you can be loading up one deck with materials while the other deck is being cut, and then it automatically swaps the two.
So let me ask you, if you hypothetically shot a Cybertruck with a 50 cal and you needed to patch that, could you use a laser to cut out like a perfect pattern to fill that hole?
You could, yeah. We've actually thought about, so there's a special kind of steel called Corten steel that has, because stainless is nice because it doesn't rust at all, right? Corten is like the exact opposite, where it intentionally rusts, but it has that protective rust layer on the outside, but then it stops, and it's like super durable stuff. But then you're driving around like a rusted out Cybertruck, and we've thought about replicating the panels and putting Corten on the outside. It would be nuts. It would look so cool too.
This is an important fact we need to know. What are the dimensions on the largest American flag I've ever seen in my life?
I think it's 30 feet by 60 feet. And we're gonna use freedom units for that because I don't know what it is in meters. So this is 5 years ago, I had the idea to make off-road wheelchairs, and that's kind of how Not a Wheelchair started. And so we just kind of assembled a bunch of bike parts together and made a contraption out of bike parts that was more accessible. So these handles can drop down and someone can transfer into it from a wheelchair. And this goes, with 2 batteries, goes about 35 or 40 miles. With a top speed of about 13 miles an hour. Sorry about the noise, again, active work zone. But we have a 4-wheel drive version of that off-road wheelchair coming out probably next month, and that thing is a beast. Like, it can tow 300 pounds for probably 20 miles. And it's wild. So this is like our durability testing machines, because we want to build inexpensive wheelchairs, but we also want them to last. Maybe we wait for a second. So we want to build inexpensive wheelchairs, but we also want them to be super durable. And so we have built these durability testing machines. So this is a roller machine that basically simulates about 5 years worth of abuse as it's rolling on these drums. It's a drum rolling durability test machine. And these are like the ANSI standards for what wheelchairs should be able to withstand. And so we're going to have them officially certified. We built these machines so we could replicate the tests before we actually get them certified, because the certification costs about 10 grand. And so we want to make sure it passes the test before we send it off to get officially tested. And then over here, like, we'll be able to have sticks of metal come in one door, build the wheelchair, and then ship it out the other side. And that includes powder coating. So we have a powder coating booth right here that basically we can do any color, any number of 5,000 different kinds of powder coats. And then once it's coated, it goes into here, which is an oven, and you bake the powder coat for about 20 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, again, freedom units, and then it's perfectly powder coated. One of the ways that we were able to fund all of these machines, like this setup behind me is like 150,000 bucks. When I did my gold-plated Cybertruck video, we were also selling gold-plated JerryRig knives, which I don't have on me. I just carry one of the regular stainless ones. But basically, we gold-plated these and sold them as kind of a fundraiser. And I think we sold close to 400 of them, which takes a massive dent out of the cost of this machine. And so it's, again, super grateful for the help and support we've received from the community as a whole. Because yeah, the laser was like another $400,000. It's been a very expensive factory to set up, and like we're not trying to make money at the end of the day. So it's helpful that the audience is able to help us out with that. So we have our wood inserts. Oh, there they are right there. All the gold knives lined up. And we have, this is also built by us here in this shop. I'll show you what that machine is for. So we have a whole woodworking setup inside of this acrylic enclosure, trying to keep the dust to a minimum. And so we have a giant CNC machine from Laguna, and we got the machine to make wooden hand rims. It's loud. We got the machine to make wooden hand. We got the machine to make wooden. So this is one of our early prototypes, but this hand rim is made out of wood. If you think about it, like a metal hand rim, which I think I have one over here, in the winter or the summer, they get super cold or super hot. Doesn't get as extreme temperature changes. Because in the winter, if you're pushing with the metal hand rim, your hands get really cold really quick. That's why we built the wood ones, and we have this machine right here, which is able to mill those out pretty quickly. Again, for super cheap, because wood is a fairly inexpensive material. We have about 15 guys here working, most of whom are engineers right now. We'll be hiring more, you know, technicians and stuff to assemble the chairs later on. But we have our Tormac 1100 MX. This mills out a bunch of our like smaller pieces for the wheelchairs. So this sits inside of the front casters. Basically there's a aluminum cut tube. This goes inside and allows us to rotate the front caster depending on what like angle the seat is of the wheelchair. Because like, let's say someone wants more reclining in their seat. As soon as they drop that, their front caster needs to be readjusted so it's level again. And this allows us to do that. And so we do it a little bit with the Tormac milling machine here, but we also have the lathe. So this is the 15L Slant Pro lathe, and it can take that piece of stock and make a completely custom part from a raw piece of metal. And then we have a smaller laser. We got this one probably like 2 years ago, and unfortunately the company that sold this is now out of business. And so like as soon as it breaks, we're kind of toast. So it's still really good for prototyping, and still was worth its weight in gold while we were prototyping and designing everything in our other shop, because it was only $100,000 versus $400,000 for the big boy laser over there. We just weren't ready for that investment when we were first starting.
So even though he's refusing to show me where he's hiding the gold plating machine, where I can gold plate everything that I have, it's a pretty cool shop. And if you know anything about modern manufacturing, you get to get a glimpse of it here, and you want to make a difference. It sounds like they're going to be expanding in it. So if you're in the Salt Lake City, Utah area, keep an eye out, because these are the kinds of companies, these are the kind of businesses that actually matter. It's not a big organization that is just paying a CEO, whatever. Like, they're trying to change lives, and that's what they're doing here, which is really cool. And I can't thank you enough, Zach, for showing me around your new shop.
Yeah, thanks for coming over. Thanks for the books.
Yeah, books. We still have to unload those, like a metric ton of books.
We can do it.
Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed the tour, and I can't wait to catch you guys on the next one.